Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and guys welcome to your another important video in which I will be discussing with you the most important things that needs to be remembered from an examination point of view from RBI, NABARD and other regulatory bodies which is relevant for the examination. So guys, me and Ritika ma'am have already taken a session on the basic highlights of the economic survey, and you all were demanding that sir please bring an important detailed session on the economic survey. So in today's session guys, I will be briefing you about what actually the economic survey is all about, what are the important things that needs to be kept in mind from the different chapters that have been highlighted in the economic survey. Then we will also be discussing the important things or initiatives that we have already read, but now the more emphasis has to be given on those schemes or the programs that have been mentioned in the survey. So your prime objective here will be to take a notebook with you and write down these important points which you have to revise now also on priority, because you have read those things but that needs to be remembered on priority basis because they have been highlighted in the economic survey. So first of all, let us discuss what actually this economic survey is all about. So guys, if I talk about economic survey as a document, it is an annual document which is released by the Ministry of Finance. बट इन सिंपल टर्म्स इफ आई टॉक अबाउट इकोनॉमिक सर्वे, क्या होता है, हमने कुछ भी किया, ठीक है, व्हेन वी डू समथिंग, हम लोग अपना बही खाता कैसे देंगे, हाउ वी विल शो के व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट वी हैव डन, हाउ वी विल काउंट अवर परफॉर्मेंस. So similarly, when I talk about the economic performance of a government, for that the survey is basically the representation of what the government has done in past. ठीक है, the targets that the government has set, whether these targets were met, and what are the things that needs to be kept in mind for the government in the future. This is basically the survey. The document is detailing about that. Now the most important thing is who actually is preparing this survey. It is not prepared by Ministry of Finance. It is basically prepared by a department under that, that is Economic Division of the Department of Economic Affairs, which is being prepared under the guidance of our Chief Economic Advisor. तो मतलब मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस का एक स्पेसिफिक डिपार्टमेंट है जो इसको प्रिपेयर कर सकता है, किसके अंडर, अंडर द गाइडेंस ऑफ चीफ इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजर, which is then finally being approved by finance minister. So this year it has been prepared under the guidance of our recent chief economic advisor, that is Mr. V. Anant Nageshwaran. Now let's start from the economic survey. Let's start from the first chapter, that is about the state of economy. So here you can see a lot of data is given here. So do we have to remember each and every data here? The important thing is this is basically the most important thing which will directly be asked in the examination. The most important thing is GDP growth. Now what is the GDP growth projected by the economic survey this year? So if I talk about this economic survey, it has basically talked on these specific GDPs. For example, GDP for 2021-22 that has been achieved. What is the GDP projection for the year that is running on financial year 2023 and for financial year 2024? What actually the GDP has been projected? So when I start with the basic thing, it says for the year 2021-22, we have achieved a growth rate of 8.7%, which means this is highlighting this thing, that is the recovery is complete from the COVID-19 pandemic level, from the pre-pandemic level, or due to the impact that has been shown by the COVID. Now we are recovering from that thing. This is the main thing, that recovery is complete. And you can see here also, the growth will be on a higher, on a positive note. Okay? So for the year that is running on, the projected growth rate is 7%, and for the next year, the projected growth rate as per the economic survey is between 6 to 6.8%. Now along with that, the other data that we need to remember are, in terms of inflation, what is the growth rate that has been projected here? Fiscal deficit, directly a question can be asked in the examination कि कितना fiscal deficit है. तो 2021-22 मतलब जो ईयर निकल हो चुका है कंप्लीट, उसके लिए 6.7% था. For the year that is going on, it is projected to be 6.4%. Similarly, in terms of foreign exchange reserve, 607 billion forex reserves have been reported, and it is expected that this year the forex reserves will be around 563 US dollar billion reserves. Then growth have been discussed about all the three important sectors, that is service, industry as well as agriculture. So agriculture 3% and 3.5% is projected for this year. Industrial growth, इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड टू बी 4.1%. जो सर्विस की ग्रोथ जो है वो आपको बोला है कि वो पॉजिटिव नोट में और बेटर होगी. अलॉन्ग विद दैट, व्हाट आर द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स व्हिच हैव बीन हाइलाइटेड, विद व्हिच वी कैन से रिकवरी इज कंप्लीट. सो मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट हैज बीन हाइलाइटेड, इट सेज दैट द बेसलाइन ग्रोथ फॉर द FY24 इट इज अराउंड 6.5%. तो मैंने आपको इसके बारे में अभी बताया है. अब सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट क्या है, देखो ये चीज है, वी आर द थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी इन टर्म्स ऑफ परचेजिंग पावर पैरिटी. ठीक है, एंड फिफ्थ लार्जेस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ मार्केट एक्सचेंज रेट दैट हैज बीन हाईलाइटेड इन दिस survey and that can directly be asked in our examination. In terms of a very important thing that has been highlighted is capital expenditure. It says capital expenditure of central government has increased by 63.4 percentage in the first 8 months of financial year 2023 that is presently running on. Now important thing here, now here the basic thing that needs to be analyzed is what actually is capital expenditure. So let us understand it in a very common example. For example, my father is basically giving me money. So he is my finance minister. So I take him some money. I took some money from him in the form of my pocket money. And there is something that he has promised to me that yes, within 3 years I will be giving you a bike. मैं आपको बाइक दिलवा एक परचेज करके दिलवा दूंगा. अब बेसिक चीज समझिए. अब इससे डिस्कस करेंगे रेवेन्यू कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर क्या होता है. द मनी दैट इज गिविंग मी ऑन रेगुलर लेवल, जो उनके रेगुलर खर्चे हैं वो क्या है, उनका रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर. एंड द मनी दैट इज इन्वेस्टिंग ऑन परचेजिंग सम एसेट, जो कि उनका लॉन्ग टर्म एसेट है जिसको बिल्ड कर रहे हैं, वो होता है कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. सो दिस इज द बेसिक थिंग. Capital expenditure, which means the government is the money that the government is spending on building the assets for the country, that has increased, and it has increased by 63.4 percentage. That is the purpose of capital expenditure. And in corporate sector, so this report of Axis Bank Business and Economic Research that has been quoted in the economic survey, the report says that capital expenditure in corporate sector has increased to rupees 3.3 lakh crore in the first half of financial year 2023, जहां पे मेजर इन्वेस्टमेंट कहां पे की गई है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, स्टील, केमिकल्स, ऑटो एंड फार्मास्यूटिकल सेक्टर. Now we're talking about industry, we're talking about corporate sector. Now very important thing, the important pillar of our industry is MSME sector. So it says that the credit growth to MSME has again been high. It is around 30.6 percentage on average during the Jan to November 2022. Important thing is it says this growth is basically projected by extended ECLGS. So this is an important point, that first thing that you have to note down, because you have covered the emergency credit line guarantee scheme. तो ये पहली स्कीम है जो आपको रिवाइज करनी है आफ्टर दिस लेक्चर. ओके, so this is an important thing that needs to be remembered, because you have already covered the CCLJ schemes in the past few months, because it is being seen in news. अब आते हैं सेकेंड पॉइंट के ऊपर, इन्फ्लेशन. So when we are talking about recovery stage, the most important thing will be inflation, because RBI said that now the inflation is within the range of our inflation range. So important thing for us is to understand what actually is the inflation range of India. So inflation range, as it has been said here, it is 4% plus minus 2%, which is around, हायर इन्फ्लेशन रेंज is 6%, लोअर इज 2%. तो पहले हमारी इन्फ्लेशन जो थी वो काफी हाई थी, but now it is under control. The RBI said, and the survey is also saying that the recovery started now, so inflation will be within the range now. Headline inflation has been projected to be around 6.8% for the year financial year 2023. Now when I talk about employment rate, it says urban employment rate has declined to 7.2%. This is the important thing that has been shared in this survey. It says the government should focus on employment thing. अर्बन एम्प्लॉयमेंट, आपकी एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक बहुत मेजर कंसर्न है जिन्होंने बोला, और उसने बोला, देखो यहाँ भी बोला है अर्बन एम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट डिक्लाइन है, पर फिर भी बोला है कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट पे बेटर जो है वो ध्यान दिया जाए. दिस इज बीइंग हाईलाइटेड इन दिस सर्वे. लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन रेट, इट इज अराउंड 41.6%. So guys, if I talk about LFPR, there also this is the thing that we need to remember, that the point is 41.6%. So this was about the briefing about the state of the economy that has been highlighted in the survey. Now let's talk about the second thing, that is medium term growth outlook. What actually is the thing that on medium level we should focus on? It says that Indian economy has went some most of structural and governance reforms have been there, which have enhanced the efficiency of its overall performance from the year 2014 to 2022. It says growth is looking very good now. जो मैंने आपको स्टार्टिंग में बोला था, अभी जो हमने डिस्कस किया कि रिकवरी स्टेज पे, वही चीज यहाँ पे भी हाईलाइट की है, that growth seems to be better than the pre-pandemic years, and Indian economy is now on a growth that it should be the important potentials in the medium term. So what are these potential reforms? These are basically based on these broad principles, that is the focus should be given on, because public infrastructure has been created. मैंने आपको अभी बोला है कि capital expenditure increase हुआ है. Adopting trust-based governance, so government has taken a lot of initiatives for trust-based governance. Important thing that we'll be discussing within this lecture also, that I have discussed earlier on also, and even in the budget that have been discussed this. गवर्नेंस के ऊपर क्या बात की गई थी? डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. ट्रांसपेरेंसी हैज बीन इंक्रीज. दिस इज द थिंग दैट हैज बीन हाईलाइटेड इन द सर्वे आल्सो. देन इट सेज co-partnering with private sector for development. So PPP model, public private partnership investment model, it has been highlighted that should be worked on. So co-partnering with private sector for development and improving the agricultural productivity. We always say that majority of our population is dependent on agriculture. So they says that agricultural productivity needs to be improved. So this we will also be discussing within this lecture, that what is the growth rate that has been witnessed in the agriculture sector and how the different schemes have performed. ठीक है, तो आपको सारा लेक्चर एंड तक देखना है, सो दैट ईच एंड एवरीथिंग कुड बी क्लियर हियर. तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता हम एक पॉइंट, हर एक पॉइंट्स को डिस्कस करेंगे और क्लियर करेंगे जो चीज हमने डिस्कस की यहाँ पे. नाउ व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट इन टर्म्स ऑफ मीडियम ग्रोथ, इट सेज दैट ऑन द उद्यम पोर्टल. सो हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं उद्यम पोर्टल, दैट इज फॉर द grievance also, as well as the things that is provided for the entrepreneurs, what could be done here. So under the Udyam portal, it says that 93,000 who are micro enterprises, they have now become the small enterprises. So this is the growth that is witnessed here. With this, see, with the transparency in the process, we can see that these micro enterprises now they are becoming the small enterprises, and some 10,000 small enterprises, they have become the medium enterprises within this last 2 years. That is the important thing that has been highlighted in the survey in terms of medium term growth outlook. Now, the other important thing is about PM Swanidhi scheme. So PM Swanidhi scheme, we are talking about street vendors, जहाँ पे street vendors को आप loan दे रहे हो so that they could work more. So it says that 32.7 lakh street vendors have availed a first loan of 10,000 under the PM Swanidhi scheme. So this scheme needs to be remembered, and this data, that is the loan that was given earlier on, rupees 10,000, it has been availed by 32.7 lakh state vendors, and this is a straight term that could be asked in the examination. And now it says the second loan has also been availed by around 7 lakh people, that is around 6.9 lakh people have availed the second loan of rupees 20,000. Then the important thing that have been highlighted is GST collection. It says in terms of medium growth, the GST collection has won very well. So average monthly gross GST collection has increased around rupees 90 lakh crores. ठीक है जी, तो 0.9 lakh crores हुआ है, उससे बढ़ के कितना हुआ है to 1.49 lakh crore rupees. And if I talk about, this is the thing that has been highlighted here. This is the growth that has been witnessed in the GST collection. And if I talk about from past 3 years, there is a consistent growth that has been seen in terms of monthly GST collections. Okay, so you can see 0.95, then it has increased to 1.25, now it is around 1.49 lakh crore is the GST collection here. That is the important thing that we need to remember in terms of medium term growth. कि क्या hope है, तो उन्होंने बोला है कि स्वानिधि अच्छा कर रही है. उद्यम पोर्टल, वी आर नाउ विटनेसिंग फ्रॉम माइक्रो टू स्मॉल एंड देन वी आर गोइंग फ्रॉम स्मॉल टू मीडियम. Similarly, GST collection is also increasing, which means the revenue for the government is also increasing. So this is an important thing that needs to be remembered here. Now let's talk about the fiscal development. So we have discussed two things. Okay, what actually is the state of the economy? What should be our medium term growth from which we are hoping the things? Now let's talk about actual what the government is, where the government is standing. That is the fiscal development of गवर्नमेंट. सो यहाँ पे क्या बोला, रेवेन्यू इज रेलिशिंग. रेवेन्यू रेलिशिंग मतलब रेवेन्यू आपका बहुत ज्यादा इंक्रीज हुआ है, एक अच्छे पॉजिटिव साइन पे है. दिस इज द थिंग दैट हैज बीन हाइलाइटेड इन दिस सर्वे. सो व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट, इट सेज दैट द यूनियन गवर्नमेंट फाइनेंसेस हैव शोन अ रिजिलिएंट परफॉर्मेंस एंड there is a buoyancy in the revenues from direct taxes and GST. So this means that the revenue is increasing from that thing. Now fiscal deficit, it says the target for this year will be around 6.4% of GDP will be our fiscal deficit target. Gross tax revenues, you can see this is an important thing that has been highlighted here. Your tax revenues has registered a growth rate of 15.5% from the month of April to the month of November 2022, where when I talk about in the month of April, the GST collection was the highest ever. तो सबसे ज्यादा highest GST collection आपकी अप्रैल में रिपोर्ट हुई थी. The question has been asked in the previous year RBI examination. We have seen that thing. यही तो क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि what is the actual GST collection that has been witnessed here, because in the month of April the highest GST collections were reported there. Now from that it says there is a growth of 15.5% till the month of November. So which is means the tax revenue is increasing here, and in terms of net tax revenue, which means the tax which center is getting after giving all and everything to state, then it has increased by 7.9% on year basis. Capital expenditure, again now it is saying here Center's capital expenditure has increased from a long-term average of 1.7 to 2.5% of GDP, which means we are on a focusing mode, we are on a growth mode, जहां पे हम अपने assets को और ज़्यादा build कर रहे हैं. And what the center is doing here also is, center is incentivizing state governments also through providing the interest-free loans. Same thing has been, we have discussed in the budget video also. So when the budget video that I have already taken, so there also I have discussed क्रॉस स्टेट डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट की बात की गई थी. वहां पे क्या बात कर रहे थे, वी विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग इंटरेस्ट फ्री स्टेट लोन्स. दिस इज द सेम थिंग दैट द सर्वे हैज आल्सो हाईलाइटेड, दैट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट हैज इंसेंटिवाइज सम स्टेट्स, ठीक है, थ्रू इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन्स. दिस इज द थिंग दैट हैज बीन हाईलाइटेड हियर. Okay, now when I talk about the GST, again let's talk about GST collection. So मैंने आपको अभी क्या बोला था, एवरेज ग्रॉस GST collection कितनी हो रही है, 1.49 लाख करोड़ रुपीस. जस्ट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड फ्यू थिंग्स अर्लियर. नाउ ग्रॉस GST collection from April to December is around 13.4 lakh crore, which is a growth of 24.8%. Okay, then GST taxpayers if I talk about, they have also increased from 70 lakhs to around 1.4 crore. तो मतलब सिंपल याद रखना, यहाँ पे तो डबल हुआ है. So GST taxpayers has doubled from 2017 to 2022 within 5 years. If I talk about the GST collection, so you can see here gross GST collection here. So I will not be saying here, okay, remember this fact. You should have an idea of this thing कि कितना हुआ था. पहले 37.7% था, 2021 से अभी कम है, ठीक है. If I talk about on growth, it is 24.8%, but it is ईयर ऑन ईयर ग्रोथ की बात करो तो इट इज रिफ्लेक्टिंग अबाउट दीज मंथ्स. अप्रैल टू दिसंबर में 24.8% है, जो कि काफी अच्छी ग्रोथ है. देन द थिंग्स इज रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर. द थिंग नाउ आई एक्सप्लेन्ड यू व्हाट इज रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर. सो रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर हैज बीन बॉट डाउन फ्रॉम 15.6% टू 13.5%. ओके, सो दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, विच मीन्स द गवर्नमेंट ने जो अपना रेगुलर खर्चा है उसको कंट्रोल किया है और अपने लॉन्ग टर्म खर्चे पे फोकस किया है. दिस इज द प्राइम थिंग दैट हैज बीन डिस्कस्ड हियर, व्हिच इज लेड बाय रिडक्शन इन सब्सिडी एक्सपेंडिचर. सो दिस इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग टू रिमेंबर इज how the revenue expenditure has reduced. The prime thing here is that is it has led by subsidy expenditure. So and if I talk about the gross tax revenue here that we've just discussed, that gross tax revenue has increased. So this is the prime thing from where our maximum tax is coming on. GST is contributing 28%. When I talk about corporate income tax or corporation income tax, it is contributing around 26%. And PIT is basically the tax other than corporate income tax. It is contributing 26%. Then excise duty and custom duty are contributing 12% and 8%. Now how an examiner can play with us? He will simply ask us a question that which among the following is contributing maximum in terms of gross tax revenue. The answer will be GST. Then he can ask you percentage of GST. What is the contribution of GST in terms of gross tax revenue? The answer will be 28%. And now average monthly GST जो हमने अभी पढ़ा है वो कितना था? 1.49 lakh crore is the average monthly GST collection that we have already discussed just a few slides earlier on. Now guys, let's talk about, we have discussed about fiscal government level पे. अब आते हैं monetary level पे. हम दो तरह की policies पढ़ते हो. You have read the two types of policies in ESI static. One is fiscal policy, second is monetary policy. Monetary policy we are generally relating it to RBI, which where जहाँ पे RBI का रोल ज्यादा है. तो वहां पे क्या है, RBI के टर्म्स में इट इज अ वेरी गुड ईयर. व्हाई आई कैन शो दिस थिंग, रिमेंबर, लुक एट दिस थिंग. ग्रॉस नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट्स रेशियो हैज fallen, so which means this is a very good thing. NPA, which is a very big concern for banking sector, it has reduced down to 5%. That is a 7-year low of, it is 5.5% gross non-performing asset ratio. Okay, gross non-performing assets to NBFCs has also declined to 5.9%. To scheduled commercial banks 5%. सिंपल याद रखो, SCB 5 और NBFCs around 6%. Then if I talk about the other thing, why it is a good thing? NPA is one thing, NPA is reducing, but the trade volume is also increasing, which means the trade volume in government securities has increased, which has seen an increase of 6.3%. So this is an important thing to remember, that the trade volume in government securities has increased by 6.3%. And the other important thing is, guys, repo rate is increasing. So we have seen the question in the previous year also, which was asked on repo rate. Recently, in the recent monetary policy committee also, the repo rate has been increased. So you have to tell me in the comment box also what is the now the modern repo rate What is the actual repo rate at this point of time that the RBI has increased? Now, what actually is the meaning of increase in repo rate? Which means we want to control the surplus of liquidity that is there in the market. हम अपनी monetary policy को tighten कर रहे हैं. अगर repo rate increase करोगे, banks will start investing in RBI, which means there will be less money in the market to be invested. So this is the purpose of moderation of supply liquidation. This is how the supply liquidation will be cleared here. ठीक है, उसको control किया जाएगा. This is the prime thing that has been done by the RBI. Okay, so I hope you have cleared about this thing, that what actually is the impact when the repo rate increase. Basically the money in the market gets reduced. This is the point thing here. Okay, now in terms of inflation, when I talk about inflation, the next chapter, that is prices and inflation, ठीक है, it is said it is successful tightrope walking. Tightrope walking क्या हुआ कि मैंने आपके साथ स्टार्टिंग में डिस्कस किया था that earlier guys we were not able to meet our inflation target, which we have discussed earlier. It is an inflation target क्या था हमारा 4% plus minus 2%, which is minimum of 2% to 6% was our inflation target, which we were not able. But from the month of December, we have controlled the inflation. Now this is the thing that has been highlighted on the first thing. It says inflation rate peaked to 7.8% in April. Now it has been reduced to 5.7%. This is the thing that it is saying is tight walk. It has gone beyond the inflation targeting, but now it has been under control. That is 5.7% for the month of December. That food inflation is also, it says it is between the range of 4.2 to 8%, 8.6% between April and December. And same thing as given about WP also, it was at peak at 16.6%. So I will not say remember all the facts. You just have to remember basic things. कि ये चीज आपको याद है कि inflation is now under control. In terms of housing prices that have again been discussed as a survey, it says that National Housing Bank, who basically publishes two index, that is housing prices index and housing prices assessment price or market price, ये index जो वो release करता है, तो this has been highlighted and this says there is an overall increase in the housing price index assessment. Now what actually is this housing price index, guys? So it represents the price change in residential housing property in 50 cities. So now if I am an examiner, I will not be asking you anything about what is the effect of this thing on housing price index. Straight question will be asked is that housing price index covers how many cities? It covers 50 cities and it is published by National Housing Bank. These are the 2 points which are important for the examination. So now guys, the major chunk part of data is covered here. Now let's talk about the important initiatives that are there. ठीक है, तो सबसे पहले बात करेंगे सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की. इट सेज दैट सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, इट सेज गवर्नमेंट इट हैज एनहांस्ड गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. PM Shri schools. So we have recently discussed. Recently, the guidelines on PM Shri schools were launched. So it says over 14,500 PM Shri schools are scheduled to be built between financial year 2023 and 27. Then the next important thing, if I talk about here, is it says there are rise in number of IITs and IIMs, and urban employment is nearing pre-pandemic level. Then here it says the EPFO has played a very big role, and EPFO net payroll has risen to 105.4 lakh. So when I talk about social sector, so social sectors, most important thing when I talk about social sector is health and education. So it says that social sectors, first of all, outlay has been increased. That is, it has increased to around 21.3 lakh crore rupees. Then it says center and state government's budget expenditure on health has also increased. It has touched to around 2.1% of GDP, and 2.1% is in financial year 2000, which is expected to be budget expenditure, or revised estimate में कितना हुआ 2.2%. So this is an important thing that has been highlighted in the survey, and this data is important. And if I talk about from the budget perspective also, there also it has said that the expenditure on health sector and education sector has increased in this year's budget also. Then guys, when I talk about the unemployment rate, so as I have discussed, I am saying urban employment is nearing pre-pandemic level, but the survey says that unemployment rate overall, it has declined from 8.3% to 7.2%, and the rural female labor force participation rate has increased. So female participation has increased from 19.7% to 27.7%. And if I talk about the self-help groups that are there in India, So there are around 1.2 crore self-help groups, of which 88% of these groups are basically being run by women, which are all women self-help groups. Now, guys, the most important thing in the survey is that they have mentioned the important indices that we have just discussed earlier on. Human Development Index की बात की गई, where it says India has been ranked at 132 out of 191 countries in the Human Development Index, where the country is under medium human development category. So now note down the second point, Human Development Index needs to be remembered. Then Gender Inequality Index has been read. It says India's Gender Inequality Index value is 0.49 and India is ranked at 122nd place. So the direct question can be asked is, what is the rank of India in terms of Gender Inequality Index? It is 122. And the next index that have been highlighted is Multidimensional Poverty Index. That is UNDP's Multidimensional Poverty Index, where it says that 16.4% of the population in India is multidimensionally poor. So these are the three important indices that have been highlighted in the survey, जिसके बारे में हमें we should revise these indices: Multidimensional Poverty Index, Gender Inequality Index, and Human Development Index. If I talk about the other important things that have been highlighted is labor reforms. So if you see in PIB, I can say the previous previous session of, that is winter session, in monsoon session, and now also in budget session, these labor codes have been highlighted. तो वो चार लेबर कोड जिसपे ऊपर the government is strictly working are these measures. So it says that government has amalgamated, rationalized, and simplified the 29 central labor laws into 4 labor codes. What are these 4 labor codes? That is Code on Wages, Industrial Relation Code, Code on Social Security and Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code for the year 2020. So this, you should have an idea of these codes. I think maybe in the month of November and December there was a proper article given on the labor codes also by the Ministry of Labor, and that you might have read earlier. अगर नहीं पढ़ा तो I think हमने मैगजीन में भी काफी अच्छी तरह कवर किया था, तो आप उससे भी रिवाइज कर सकते हो about this labor codes. Then is, guys, most important thing, e-Shram portal. I have just taken a session on PIB just a few days ago where I have discussed about e-Shram portal. Now remember one thing, this is very important, is I told you to not remember the data that has been shared, that as on this date these many people have been part of this e-Shram portal. What actually is e-Shram portal? It is a national database of unorganized workers, first ever national database of unorganized workers. One thing that I was just discussing is, the important thing is this point. There also I have discussed with you that this is a point that needs to be remembered. What is the female registration there? Which says that around 15,000 crore, more than 15,000 crore registered unorganized workers are women that have been registered on the e-Shram portal. Here they have not mentioned the data, but the figure is same. It says female registration is around 52.8% of e-Shram portal. That is an important thing. तो देखो सेम डाटा कोट हुआ है, बट इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में भी कोट हुआ है, हमने बाहर भी पढ़ा, तो ये डाटा, दिस इज द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. देन इट सेज इन टर्म्स ऑफ एज ग्रुप, maximum registration is belonging to the age group of 18 to 40 years, which is 61.7% of registration is in the group of 18 to 40 years. And if I talk about state wise, maximum registration under the e-Shram portal is being reported from Uttar Pradesh, then it is followed by Bihar and West Bengal. Now, guys, important thing, when you are remembering e-Shram portal, so remember, you have to remember this data, because this is the thing where the examiner can ask us the question. पेपर 2 में क्या होता है, हम सोचते हैं कि एक आर्टिकल हमने पढ़ा, हमने वहां से सब कुछ याद कर लिया. नहीं, these are the things which can be asked. They will simply ask you which state is contributing or accounting for the maximum number of unorganized workers which are registered on the e-Shram portal. The answer will be Uttar Pradesh. The data is not quoted on PIB, not quoted on Hindu. Data is quoted on economic survey. That is how this survey will play a very vital role in the examination. This is the main purpose of this thing. Now, in terms of other things that have been highlighted, it says agricultural sector workers, they are contributing around 52.4% of the total registrations. ठीक है जी, again under the e-Shram portal. And in terms of Aadhaar, it says 318 central schemes and 720 schemes with direct benefit transfers are notified under the Aadhaar Act. So you do not have to remember all this number of schemes, but basic idea है कि आधार का भी enrollment जो है वो काफी ज्यादा increase हुआ है. This number is not that much important for the examination, okay? But you should have an basic idea होना चाहिए. Number cram नहीं करना, cram हमें ये वाला डाटा करना है 52.8% वाला. Then, guys, let's talk about the next chapter, that is climate change. So now, till now, we have discussed all the important chapters. That is on this, we have discussed what state of economy, medium term में क्या करना है, fiscal level पे government का initiative क्या था, revenue level, what actually the monetarily level from where the money is coming is performing. Then we have discussed about social sectors. Now is the important chapter is climate change, and you can see even in the budget also सप्तऋषि जब हम बात करते हैं वहां पे भी climate change की बात होती है. So here the important things that the government has discussed, because recently the conference of parties has taken place where Prime Minister has openly given the lot of targets. Some new targets of India has been revised under the INDC also. The same things have been appreciated by the economic survey also. It says India has achieved 40% of its electricity capacity from non-fossil fuels, which has been well in advance of this target that the India has shared. There is a rise in share of non-fossil fuels. Then this is a very important thing. National Green Hydrogen Mission, which has recently been launched, has been discussed here. ठीक है, तो National Green Hydrogen Mission के detailed guidelines अभी I think दिसंबर में launch हुई हैं. तो National Green Hydrogen Mission, it says it would help us leading a production capacity of at least 5 million metric ton of green hydrogen by the year 2030. Then guys, life movement. I think this is a very important thing when I talk about life movement here. Life movement में when the Prime Minister launched this movement, ठीक है, it basically says life movement is a lifestyle. Pro planet change people. We want the people who want to change their lifestyle and want to become a PPP. तो यहाँ पे प्रो प्लैनेट पीपल की बात की गई थी लाइफस्टाइल एनवायरनमेंट के ऊपर, लाइफ मूवमेंट के ऊपर. तो दैट इज द थिंग दैट हैज बीन हाइलाइटेड इन द इकोनॉमिक सर्वे. देन सॉवरेन ग्रीन बॉन्ड फ्रेमवर्क दैट हैज बीन लॉन्च्ड बाय द आरबीआई इन द मंथ ऑफ नवंबर हैज बीन हाइलाइटेड हियर. नाउ व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट द फर्स्ट थिंग, NDC, so look at the thing. Punch Amrit strategy has been discussed here. It says India has revised its target of achieving installed electricity capacity from non-fossils to 50%. Net zero pledge by the year 2070. We know Punch Amrit strategy. 40% installed electricity capacity target has been achieved from non-fossil fuels. So India has achieved this target of 40% of installed electric capacity from non-fossil fuels, which is the target that was set in the year 2030. तो यही हमने यहाँ पे डिस्कस किया है. ठीक है जी. Then if I talk about in terms of fossil fuels, it says that the installed capacity from non-fossil fuels we are targeting to be around 500 gigawatt by the year 2030. Then India has reduced the emission intensity to 45% by the year 2030. तो ये टारगेट हमने सेट किया है एमिशन इंटेंसिटी ऑफ जीडीपी को रिड्यूस करने के लिए. सॉवरेन ग्रीन बॉन्ड्स दैट आई जस्ट डिस्कस विद यू, दे आर बीइंग लॉन्च्ड बाय रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, हुज पर्पस इज बेसिकली टू इंक्रीज द फ्लो ऑफ कैपिटल इनटू ग्रीन प्रोजेक्ट्स. सो व्हाट एक्चुअली आर गाइस ग्रीन प्रोजेक्ट्स? हम दो तरह के प्रोजेक्ट्स पढ़ते होते हैं, ब्राउन फील्ड और ग्रीन फील्ड. तो ये ग्रीन फील्ड से बिल्कुल अलग है. ग्रीन प्रोजेक्ट्स आर दोस प्रोजेक्ट्स हुज प्राइम फोकस विल बी ऑन एनवायरनमेंट. दिस इज द प्राइम पर्सपेक्टिव हियर, बिकॉज व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट ग्रीन फील्ड एंड ब्राउन फील्ड प्रोजेक्ट्स ना, ग्रीन फील्ड प्रोजेक्ट्स आर व्हाट प्रोजेक्ट्स? ग्रीन फील्ड प्रोजेक्ट्स वो प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं जो बिल्कुल नए प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं, और ब्राउन फील्ड होते हैं जब आप पुराने को रिवैम्प करके कोई इनिशिएटिव बनाते हो. ओके, ग्रीन फील्ड्स आर ऑल न्यू, ब्राउन फील्ड आर व्हेन यू आर reinventing or investing on those. These are the greenfield and brownfield projects. But this is not greenfield, not brownfield. This is a green project. Environmentally focused project is the focus of sovereign green funds. This is the purpose of this. That flow of capital will be on to the green projects. Then recently RBI has also auctioned 2 tranches of sovereign green bond also, which is an amounting of rupees 4,000 crore rupees. Then National Green Hydrogen Mission I've just discussed with you. टारगेट जो मैंने आपको अभी बोला था क्या था? ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन प्रोडक्शन को हमें वी वांट टू हैव अ ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी ऑफ एटलीस्ट 5 मिलियन मेट्रिक टन पर एनम, विच वी वांट टू डेवलप बाय द ईयर 2030. नाउ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, अगर मैं ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन की बात करूं तो हम लोग अभी जस्ट अ फ्यू डेज अर्लियर देयर वाज अ प्रपोजल ऑफ हाइड्रोजन ट्रेन ऑल्सो, दैट इंडिया विल बी लॉन्चिंग इट्स ऑन हाइड्रोजन ट्रेन ऑल्सो. तो वो सभी इसी चीज किसके लिए कि हम क्लाइमेट चेंज में वी वांट टू ट्रांसफर टू द electric vehicles on the renewable energy mode of electricity. Green hydrogen mission, it has launched with an outlay of 19,744 crore rupees. Again guys, just recently this national green hydrogen mission, the detailed guidelines have been launched in the month of December, in the month of Jan I think itself. So the next point to be remembered, note down in your notebook, is national green hydrogen mission, which will be launched. Then the national solar mission, it says solar power capacity is installed at 61.6 gigawatt as on October 2022. And then in terms of forest area, so guys, these are data which is important for NABARD examination. this data. India ranks third in net gain in average annual forest area. Forest आपका टॉपिक भी है एआरडी में, तो वहां पे आपको एक क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है in terms of NABARD examination. Then we know this thing 75 Ramsar sites. When we have completed 75 years, so 75 years में we have now there India total has now 75 Ramsar sites. So these have again been appreciated in the economic survey also, and it says there are 75 Ramsar sites and there is an increase in mangrove cover also from 364 square kilometer. तो मैंने आपको मैंग्रोव्स के लिए कौन सा इनिशिएटिव पढ़ाया है बजट में? मिष्टी. We have discussed the Mishti initiative focusing on mangroves ना. So see, remember this, relate economic survey with budget also. हमने बजट की वीडियो पहले बना दी है, बट ये नहीं कि आप इकोनॉमिक सर्वे को रिलेट नहीं करोगे. मैंग्रोव्स कवरेज इज 364 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर रिलेटेड विद मिस्टी, जहां पे हम कोस्टल एरियाज में मैंग्रोव्स को जो है वो एनहांस करना चाहते हैं. ठीक है जी. देन इंडिया इज बिकमिंग अ फेवरेट डेस्टिनेशन फॉर रिन्यूएबल्स विद एन इन्वेस्टमेंट. सो इंडिया we have seen an investment around 78.1 billion in the past 7 years in the terms of renewables energy. Then guys, the next sector is agriculture sector. I have said from the starting is that agriculture sector is a very important sector, and when I talk about medium term growth also, where also we focus that agriculture sector is a prime role here. Agriculture sector will play a prime role here. So in terms of agriculture and food management, the important things that have been highlighted in the survey, that says that MSP, minimum support price for all mandated crops, it is fixed at 1.5 times of all India weighted. There is a continuous growth in agriculture sectoral growth. Then food grains, 315.7 million tons of food grains are produced in India in the year 2021-2022. अब अगर फूड ग्रेन्स की बात करूं तो नेशनल फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट, प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना, these are the schemes that have been highlighted in the survey also, so we should remember about these things. Then PM Kisan scheme, very important. It says 11.3 crore farmers have been covered under the PM Kisan scheme, which means financial support has been provided to this number of farmers. Then post harvest loss of around rupees 13,681 crore rupees has been provided under the agriculture infrastructure fund scheme, and under ENAM it is now covering 1.74 crore farmers and around 2.39 lakh traders. So which means there is a positive sign which is seen in all the initiatives that the government is implementing for agriculture sector. So agriculture sector growth, if I talk about, it says in India, the agricultural sector in India has grown at an average growth rate of around 4.6% in the last 6 years. Private investment has increased and it has increased to 9.3% in the agricultural sector. Institutional credit, अभी मैंने आपको बात की ना क्रेडिट सेक्टर के बारे में. So institutional credit, it says the credit in the agricultural sector has continued to grow. It is around 18.6 lakh crore rupees in the year 2021-22. और मैंने आपको सेम चीज एग्रीकल्चर क्रेडिट की बात की गई थी बजट में भी. So now this is a thing here guys, the examiner will be asking us a question. So यहाँ से इकोनॉमिक सर्वे से आप वो चीज को रिलेट कर सकते हो. फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट आई जस्ट डिस्कस विद यू. Overall food grains, 315.7 million food grains are produced in India, where that says around 81.4 crore beneficiaries under National Food Security Act are free food grains are provided to these specific beneficiaries. Then International Year of Millets again being highlighted because India has proposed International Year of Millets and this year is being celebrated as International Year of Millets. तो उसकी बात की गई है. ठीक है, जहां पे अगर मैं बात करूं आपकी स्नेह अन्न की, ठीक है, तो वहां पे हमने बजट में भी पढ़ा था इस चीज के बारे में, विच द टर्म हैज कोटेड फॉर द इंटरनेशनल ईयर ऑफ मिलेट्स. देयर आल्सो द थिंग वी हैव डिस्कस, ठीक है, वेयर विल मेक द इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ नेशनल इंपॉर्टेंस. तो हम इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ नेशनल इंपॉर्टेंस बनाना चाहते थे हमारे मेन इंस्टीट्यूट को, दैट इज बीइंग सेट अप एट हैदराबाद. So that we have discussed in the budget also, so that you can revise it here. Then the net exports of agriculture, this is a very important thing that has been highlighted in the survey. It says the agricultural exports has touched an all-time high with an export of 50.2 billion in the year 2021-22, which is again important from the examination point of view. Then India has seen the highest number of organic farms in the world, which is around 44.3 lakh. 44.3 lakh organic farmers are there. ठीक है जी, और जितने में हम लोग कितना कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं, 59.1 lakh hectare area. We have the highest number of organic farmers in the world, that is 44.3 lakh, and we are contributing around 59.1 lakh hectare that is brought under the organic farming by the government by the year 2021-22. Then if I talk about the important thing that has been discussed on the schemes under the surveys on the agriculture schemes is, first of all, when I talk about Kisan Credit Card, so it says under Kisan Credit Card 3.89 crore eligible farmers, the cards have been issued to the around 4 crore farmers, that is 3.89 crore farmers, eligible farmers, the Kisan Credit Cards have been issued, okay, with a limit of rupees 4,51,672 crores. Then if I talk about, it says because recently the Kisan credit cards have been now, they are being given to the fishery sectors also as well as in the animal husbandry sector. So over 1 lakh Kisan credit cards have been sanctioned for the fishery sector and 9.5 lakh Kisan credit cards have been sanctioned for the animal husbandry sector. So guys, I know इन इकोनॉमिक सर्वे देयर इज अ लॉट एंड लॉट ऑफ डाटा, तो हमें डाटा भी डाटा ही याद करना है, यही प्राइम पर्सपेक्टिव है और यही एक क्रंच भी है इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में, तो ये हमें थोड़ा सा इस पे फोकस करना है. पीएम किसान, एज आई हैव डिस्कस, 11.3 करोड़ फार्मर्स हैव रिसीव्ड द इनकम सपोर्ट फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट अंडर द पीएम किसान scheme. Then they have talked about Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which says it is the largest crop insurance scheme in the world, and on an average 5.5 crore applications have been received every year from under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Then the next question that could be framed on the scheme is, okay, the share of non-loanee marginalized and small farmers, it has increased by 282% since the inception, since the scheme was launched in the year 2016. Organic farming, as just I have discussed, that we have the largest number of organic farmers in India. In terms of organic farming, it says, we know that it has been promoted recently. मैंने आपको बोला था 59.1 हेक्टेयर जो हमारा लैंड है which is under organic farming has been brought out. For that, the economic services, there is the economic survey has praised these two schemes, that is farmer produced organization and Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, because they have played a very important role in promoting the organic farming in India. Then is guys talking about industrial sector. So what is the thing that has been highlighted in the industry sector? So it says the industry sectors, if I talk about the GVA that I've started from in the starting, I've also discussed. So it says industrial sector has seen an increase of 3.7% in the first half of the year. Exports of goods and services have again seen a sharp share in the percentage of GDP. Then it has discussed about the purchasing manager index. So it says purchasing manager index for manufacturing has remained in expansion. So which means we are expanding as per this index. Then intellectual property, so IIP में भी आपका healthy indicator है. Then if I talk about guys, this is the target that we need to remember. Credit to MSMEs has grown by around 30% since January 2022. We have discussed this thing in the starting also, that MSMEs, this is the thing that has been highlighted, बहुत ज़्यादा हाईलाइट किया है सर्वे में, तो दिस डाटा इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक एक्सपोर्ट्स हैज इंक्रीज. देन PLI schemes, it has talked about production linked incentive schemes. So employment generation has been given to around 3 lakh people from these schemes. More than 100 beneficiaries are MSMEs from the PLI schemes. So in more than 100 beneficiaries are MSMEs under the PLI scheme, and investment of around rupees 47,500 crore has been made under the production linked incentive scheme. Then it has talked about ease of doing business. So it says these are number of reforms that have been taken. The compliances, if I talk about, it says around 39,000 compliances have been reduced in the year in terms of ease of doing business. Now when I talk about industrial sector growth, as I was discussing, तो मैंने अभी आपको बोला 3.7% फर्स्ट हाफ में देखने को मिली है, बट इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड इट विल बी अराउंड 4.1% and it was 10.3% in the year 2021-22. Then if I talk about credit to MSME, I have discussed this thing. Other important thing is India has become the second largest mobile phone manufacturer globally. तो अभी देखिए ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि हमारे यहाँ पे वी हैव देयर इज अ स्कीम, ठीक है. तो जो हमारी मोबाइल फोन सेक्टर्स है, मोबाइल फोन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, वहां पे इंडिया ने बहुत ज्यादा ग्रोथ दिखाई है, एंड इंडिया हैज बिकम द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट मोबाइल फोन मैन्युफैक्चरर इन द वर्ल्ड. देन फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट इन फार्मेसी हैज आल्सो. सो आई हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट मेडिकल टूरिज्म, ठीक है ना. मेडिकल टूरिज्म की बात की गई थी, तो मेडिकल टूरिज्म में इंडिया का रैंक की बात की गई थी, जो मैंने आपके साथ हाइलाइट्स में भी डिस्कस किया था. तो वहीं से आप देखिए कि फार्मास्यूटिकल सेक्टर्स में भी हमारी एफडीआई जो है वो इंक्रीज हुई है. सो एफडीआई हैज फ्लोन इनटू द फार्मर्स, इफ आई टॉक अबाउट फार्मा इंडस्ट्री, एंड इट हैज सीन एन इंक्रीज ऑफ 4 times, that is from $180 million to around $700 million in the year financial year 2022. 2. And if I talk about such compliances, this is again an important thing that now your compliances have also been reduced. Then guys, let's talk about the service sector. So हमने industry से agriculture से या फिर industry, now it is about service sector. So there is a strong growth that is projected in the service sector. If I talk about here, so we can see service sector growth will be around 9.1%, which will be highest. If I talk about the all the things जो हमने projection देखी है for the year 2022-23, it will be highest in service sector. So it will be the major strong growth होगी service sector में. Then PMI service sector, it has witnessed the strongest expansion that has been shared by the survey. Credit growth to services is around above 16% in their July, and this is the important thing, 75 digital bank units. So जब 75 यूज थी तो पिछले साल के बजट में 75 डिस्ट्रिक्ट डिजिटल बैंक्स की बात की गई थी, प्रीवियस ईयर बजट, नॉट दिस ईयर बजट, इन द प्रीवियस ईयर बजट दैट वाज रिलीज्ड इन द 2022. These 75 DBUs are announced, which will be transforming. The service says that these DBUs that were announced will help in transforming the financial services in India. And if I talk about the major source where the service sector will be witnessing a growth, it will be fashion sector, grocery sector और the general merchandise, जिसमें आप जनरली शॉपिंग भी करते हो. आप देख रहे हो ना फैशन में, आजियो हो गया, मंत्रा हो गया, बहुत शॉपिंग होती है, तो फैशन सेक्टर कहना ग्रो करेगा, ई कॉमर्स ग्रो करेगा, ग्रोसरी सेक्टर होगा और जनरल मर्केंडाइज. तो यहाँ पे आपका ग्रोथ होगी which will be contributing to nearly 2/3 of the Indian e-commerce. वही मैं आपसे अभी डिस्कस कर रहा था. If I talk about commercial service exports, it has increased from 3% to 4%. FDI has increased to $7.1 billion in service sector. And the major chunk for growth in service sector will be e-commerce market. मैंने आपको बताया कौन major role play करेगा, but it has also projected that India's e-commerce market is projected to grow at 18% annually through the year 2025. So this is all about service sector. Now let me talk about the next chapter, that is about the external sectors. So external sector जहां पे हमने forex reserves की बात starting में ही कर ली थी, ठीक है जी. Merchandise exports, if I talk about overall exports, it is around $32.8 billion from April to December. India is the 7th largest service exporter in the world, and we have the largest, India is the largest recipient of foreign remittance as per the World Bank. Okay. And then I talk about here, मैंने आपको बोला largest recipient है, which is receiving around $100 billion in the year 2022. We have received from the private remittances. Then remittances are the second largest major source of external financing after services export. So again, a very important that has been highlighted directly. A question can be asked to us. Second largest major source of financing कौन है? That is your remittances sector. Okay, so forex reserves we have discussed earlier on also. So as on December 22, we have a forex reserve of around 563 billion. Whereas if I talk about this data, so यहाँ पे आप बोलोगे सर यहाँ पे आप कुछ बोल रहे हो, वहाँ पे कुछ बोल रहे हो. So guys, see, merchandise export is witnessing, it is merchandise export is around 2.8 billion from April to December. Whereas if I talk about forex reserve, it is not about exports, it is talking about forex reserve. पूरा reserve कितना है आपके पास foreign exchange, that is around $563 billion, and India is the 6th largest foreign exchange reserve holder in the world. So this is an important, 7th largest service exporter है, but 6th largest क्या है आप? Foreign exchange reserve. Okay. So guys, now let's talk about the last chapter, that is physical and digital infrastructure. So when I talk about in terms of digital infrastructure, as I've discussed, so there are many things that have been highlighted in this survey. Okay. So first, let's talk about the public-private partnership. It says that approval has been given to 56 projects under the viability gap funding scheme. So viability gap funding scheme मैंने आपको बताया था, viability gap funding scheme is a scheme which is being launched by Department of Economic Affairs. Okay, so this is an important thing. It is a scheme launched by Department of Economic Affairs. Then recently in the month of November, guys, India Infrastructure Project Development Fund scheme has been launched with an outlay of 150 crore. November, so let me now we have to revise this specific scheme. Then it's guys National Infrastructure Pipeline. So it says that around 89,000 projects have been, which are costing around 141 lakh crore rupees, have been covered under the different stages of implementation under the National Infrastructure Pipeline. ठीक है, फिर आता है National Monetization Pipeline. So 9 lakh crore is the estimated investment potential that could be achieved from the National Monetization Pipeline. Okay, and around 0.9 lakh crore monetization targets are achieved against the expected target that we have set here. ठीक है? Then it have talked about these important things that the government has taken. ठीक है? UPI, Unified Payment Interface, it has touched its highest ever mark of 782 crores. तो मैं आपको बोलता था ना कि यूपीआई पे बहुत बात कर रही हैं. ठीक है? आई थिंक इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द रीसेंट लेक्चर दैट आई हैव टेकन ऑन, सो वहां पे मैंने आपको आज ही बोलता यूपीआई इंटरनेशनल की बात की गई थी, जहां पे मैंने फोन पे की बात की थी. ठीक है ना? तो देखो फोन पे यूपीआई इंटरनेशनल विच मींस वी आर वर्किंग मोर एंड मोर ऑन यूपीआई. ठीक है? डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वी हैव स्टार्टेड विद गुड गवर्नेंस. मीडियम टर्म ग्रोथ में बोलता गुड गवर्नेंस एक पर्सपेक्टिव है. इंडिया प्री पेंडेमिक से ऊपर आया है, तो उसका सबसे बड़ा पॉइंट क्या है? गुड गवर्नेंस. एंड हियर the UPI is, we can say UPI, digital infrastructure, this logistics policy, these are the important things here. Now we are working on a digital infrastructure, which is an important thing that have been highlighted in the survey. They have highlighted the important things. ONDC, it is consistently being seen in news from September, October, November. ONDC is seen in news. Trade schemes of RBI, that is being witnessed, that is being highlighted in this economic survey. So these are the things that have been highlighted, which says they have helped in public private partnership as well as helping in digital infrastructure also. Now when I talk about road transport here, so this is a very important thing in terms of infrastructure. It says in terms of road transport there has been seen an increase of in the construction of national highway roads, which is the increase has been seen, that is up to 10,457 kilometers of roads are constructed in the financial year 2022 as compared to around 6,061 kilometers that have been constructed in the financial year 2060. Then it says National Highway Authority of India have launched the investment, that is InvITs have been launched, investment in infrastructure funds have been launched, which have raised around rupees 10,200 crore from the high quality of foreign and institutional investors. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सेक्टर तो मैंने आपको अभी बोला था, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की हम अभी बात करके आए हैं अंडर दी सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऑल्सो एंड अंडर द क्लाइमेट चेंज ऑल्सो, जहां पे मैंने आपको बोलता है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी हमने जो टारगेट्स रखे हैं. Similarly, in terms of digital infrastructure, where it has been highlighted in terms of electricity sector is, it says that as on 30th September, government has sanctioned the entire capacity of 40 gigawatt for the development of 59 solar parks. So remember this thing again, we can relate it with the climate change, जहाँ पे मैंने आपको बोलता है renewable energy पे हमारा prime focus रहेगा. The total installed power capacity has been increased from 460.7 gigawatt to 482 gigawatt as on 31st of March 2022. Then guys, UPI, we have discussed UPI is a major chunk here. अभी मैंने बताया कितना contribute कर रहा है. So in terms of transactions, if I talk about, in terms of value, the UPI transaction has seen an increase of 121%, and in terms of volume of transactions that have been done here, it has seen an increase of 115%. This is an important thing that have been highlighted, which means हम लोग digital infrastructure के ऊपर काफी ज़्यादा emphasize कर रहे हैं और we can see the results here also. In terms of digital infrastructure, if I talk about internet subscription, मैंने आपको बोला मोबाइल फोन सबसे ज़्यादा इंडिया में है, तो देखो मोबाइल फोन है उनके साथ इंटरनेट सब्सक्रिप्शन भी बढ़ रही है. 200% increase has been seen in rural internet subscription and around 158% increase has been seen in terms of urban internet subscription from the year 2015 to 2021. तो जो मैंने आपके साथ इनिशिएटिव डिस्कस किए थे, गवर्नमेंट ई मार्केट प्लेस, ई नाम, उमंग ऐप, ट्रेड्स, so these are all the initiatives that have been highlighted by in this economic survey, which you should have an idea. Okay, so guys, if I talk about, this was all from the economic survey. So here if I talk about in this lecture, we have discussed what actually have been the important things that have been highlighted in the different chapters of this economic survey. Then we have discussed about what are the important initiatives we should kept in mind that we have already read. अब उसको हमें और revise करना है. I have highlighted those events with you. Important targets which India has achieved, because if I talk about this survey now, you will be feeling confident also. If you are reading current affairs from the past, I can say 3 to 4 months, you will be feeling confident. पंच अमृत स्ट्रेटेजी बोली आपने अभी पढ़ी है, नेशनल हाइड्रोजन मिशन की बात की आपने अभी पढ़ा है, यूपीआई ट्रांजेक्शन यू आर रीडिंग, यूपीआई ट्रांजेक्शन के बारे में आपने अभी पढ़ा है, ट्रेड स्कीम, ओएनडीसी, यू आर ऑल रीडिंग दिस थिंग्स. सो विच मीन्स देयर इज नथिंग न्यू in this economic survey. It is not a new scheme. These are all old schemes that you have already read. PM Kisan, Kisan Credit Card, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. These are not the new schemes. You have already gone through these schemes. But if you have not gone through the schemes, this survey will give you an idea that yes, now you need to remember those schemes also, because that can play a very important role in the examination. And then guys, we have discussed that what could we have related the important things with the budget also, because आई हैव टेकन द वीडियो ऑन बजट, ठीक है। तो बजट हमने पहले डिस्कस किया था, वही से हमने यहां से भी रिलेट की कि हाउ इकोनॉमिक सर्वे, द थिंग्स दैट हैव बीन हाइलाइटेड इन सर्वे हैव बीन realized in the budget also. Okay, and now guys, to download the PDF you just have to do one thing. There's a link given below about the Telegram channel. Click on that link and you can download the PDF from that. Okay, so guys, this was all about this economic survey. I hope you have really enjoyed the lecture. Still you feel any kind of thing you want to discuss it with us, you can drop us an email at hello@edutab.co.in, and you can even have a call with me on the number that is 81462 07241. So wishing you all the best for your examination, guys. Keep working hard, keep preparing hard. Bye bye.